Hello guys, welcome back to M9 Workshop. You joined me this week about an hour before I found out that a bid that I'd put in on a new machine had been accepted, and that I'd have to take delivery of the machine within the week. If I had known that, I'd be focusing on getting things like air and power sorted, not taking down the old spray booth. If I don't have those things, and I'm not ready to commission the machine on the day, it's going to be expensive. But at this point, blissful ignorance. That'll soon change. I bought this cheap Ella sprayer just for this job. 3,500 square foot of ceilings is no mean feat. The little machine held up. I was quite surprised. Not perfect. I'm spraying a highly filled acrylic waterborne bond paint. That's quite a lot to ask, even for an expensive machine. Just like an expensive machine, this does have reversible spray tips, so whenever there's a blockage you can just spin it 180 degrees and it opens the bore and pressurizes the blockage right out. Any professional decorators watching are probably cringing. My aim is not to get a perfect ceiling. I'm never going to be able to stop these ceilings leaking, so just covering the yellow for now, giving it a clean slate is about all I can hope for. Sometimes the machine had a little trouble keeping up. I didn't take down the lights for this because I found that I could get enough paint behind them. I didn't have enough temporary lighting to light this space so that I could see what I was doing. I found that once the lights were down, it was really no big deal just to go over that area. Just took one coat. Any bits I miss, I could just come back later with a quick blast. It's amazing how much brighter the space feels even as I was doing this. I think you'll agree. Pretty incredible transformation for just 3 minutes work. And now that the ceilings are sprayed, most of them anyway, I can get on with taking down the old lights. You might be wondering why I'm going to the effort of moving all the lights. You see, traditional fluorescent tubes provide a very wide and uniform spread of light. LED tubes, on the other hand, provide pretty much unidirectional light. If we mounted the LEDs at the height of the existing fluorescent units, we'd end up with areas of the floor completely uncovered. The simplest, if less economical option would be to add a third light. But for us, running dust extraction, that presents a few problems. Instead, we can simply move the lights, bring them in, and bring them up. That gives us the spread of light that we need at floor level. Instantly, you can see how much more pleasant this light is. Mounting the luminaires couldn't really be any easier. The brackets simply screw into the ceiling. Handily, they're the same width as the purlins. And they can be placed pretty much anywhere along the length of the luminaire, so you don't have to be too precious about where they mount. And the lights just clip in. We can measure off the rafter, and with a few gentle persuasion taps, get them centered on the bay. Then we can make off the lights into the old adaptable boxes. I really didn't want to move these. Cutting, threading, mounting conduit is time consuming, and it's just not necessary. So what I'm going to do is make off the connections from the pre-terminated flex of the new lights directly into these adaptable boxes. That also saves me stripping and re-terminating the flex from the lights themselves. Maintaining earth continuity by making off with a two-way Wago. And then for our liner neutral, I can use a three-way Wago so that I can splice the new light in. While I do much prefer working with singles, it can be a bit of a nightmare getting them in. And it just so happened that the length of flex from the light, which has crimped connectors on the end, is pretty much the perfect length to run along the rafter, along the purlin, and straight into the adaptable box. So by using a compression gland, I can maintain the IP rating of the box itself. And then I'll use some metal cable clips to meet the 18th edition cable retention guidelines to clip those directly to the rafter and the purlin. Other than power, the critical thing to have for this new machine is air. About 7.5 bar of air. What I hadn't factored into my plans was that someone was going to offer to sell me a panel saw at a price that I could not say no to. This meant I had to book transport. I also needed transport to move my machines from my other shop. So that left me with no choice but to do both on the same day, otherwise I'd have to pay twice. Which meant getting to the machines that I then needed was all that much harder. I also specifically wanted to avoid bringing anything into the shop that I didn't absolutely need until everything was done. Best laid plans. After moving everything for the third time, I managed to get to the compressor and the air tank. I think there's two kinds of people. Those that could use a pallet truck, and those that, well, enough said. The only reason I'm putting the compressor and air tank here is because it's the only place I have a 32 amp breaker. I simply just do not have the time to put one in what will become the plant room. So I'm going to keep both on their pallets, connect them up here. This will allow me to run an airline for the new machine, and then as time permits I can just move them. Hey look, this guy does not know how to use a pipe wrench. Interesting. I did not notice that sound at the time, so I started the compressor, and I bet you can guess what you're about to see. As soon as the motor spooled up, Holly and Belt had a calm, collected discussion about whether they should stay together, in which Polly suggested Belt should maybe sleep on the sofa tonight, if he wouldn't mind terribly. My next mistake was not to immediately disregard the manufacturer's suggestion that you couldn't undo the pretensioner to get the new belt on. That and time constraints put bad ideas into my head. The next morning, with a clean head, I got more done in 15 minutes than I did in the previous 2 hours. Go figure. With the belt refitted, the last thing to do was to reset the various trips that had gone off. To do that, you have to whip off the cover to the electrical box. Why they're not more accessible, I don't know. I suspect it has something to do with making you pay for an engineer to come out. Without the covers on, this thing is very unpleasant to listen to, but we have air pressure. Right around 3 bar though, I started to notice that pressure was building much slower, and I could hear a few hisses. It was a good opportunity to check, is the air full of oil? As it turns out, not really. Small amount of moisture and some rust from the vessel, but all in all, pretty good show. Just a quick run round, making sure all the connections are nipped up. Which way round is PTFE meant to go again? And there we go. 7.5 bar. With that done, I can start reassembly. This machine will still need a full teardown, but to get air for commissioning next week, that's all we need to do. I'm fairly comfortable now that this machine is in good enough shape to run. actually a great design of machine. It's effectively built on its own metal pallet that fits a pallet truck perfectly. It fits through a standard doorway, and I've never had a machine more accessible for maintenance. Literally every panel comes off, leaving you just with a box frame made of 2-inch section. It's really thoughtful. And with the last cover going back on, that's pretty much everything. We're ready. I can't wait to get this machine in place. A few sleepless nights, but we're ready for it. Ah, for fuck. You see, getting these machines in through the door was easy. But what if you've got a machine that's much, much bigger? Guys, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. 5,000 subscribers in just under a month is incredible. It's more than I ever anticipated. So thank you, and I hope to see you in the next one.